Hey there, everybody. John Gums here with Dakota Grappler. We are on our kickoff show for Dakota Grappler Live. Hoping that some of you guys join in and enjoy the show tonight. We're going to talk a lot of wrestling, mostly North Dakota tonight. I do have another show probably scheduled for Wednesday, which I'll talk a little more South Dakota. But basically, this is Dakota Grappler. I have Bill with me tonight. He can introduce himself. His name's on the bottom. He is, I know, a big wrestling fan, and I've known him for a while. His son still wrestles at Northern State, and I'm just going to let him introduce himself. I guess I'll talk about myself first. I'm John Gums. I'm owner and editor of Dakota Grappler. I've done this for 20 years. 1999, I started doing this, and we are just getting into the technology part where everybody, can get some publicity, especially the wrestlers out there. But Dakota Grappler itself, I do a preseason book. And I also put together a newsletter this year that I've committed myself to doing. If you guys want, you can get yourself a free, basically Dakota Grappler night, a digital version. All you have to do is go down the bottom of this YouTube video or go over to YouTube and register tonight. Basically, subscribe to this. We have a goal of getting 1,000 subscribers by the end of the wrestling season. Right now, it's a little over 100, so I got a long ways to go, but I know there's a lot of wrestling fans out there. So I know we have a few people watching. I have also a comment place if people want to make comments on the side. I should be able to read them. Other than that, we'll talk a lot of wrestling. Okay, I want Bill could introduce himself, and he's going to do a lot of talking. I'm kind of a little bit under the weather. I've been battling a little cold since Tuesday, so my voice is a little hoarse. But Bill, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Thanks, John. Yeah, my name is Bill Holtan. Obviously, I'm a huge wrestling fan. I've been following high school and college wrestling in North Dakota and in Minnesota for a while when I was living over there. Coached a little bit, both in northern Wisconsin as well as in Carrington. I've been involved in North Dakota wrestling since a really, really long time. I've been lucky enough to have a son that took the sport up a few years ago and was a high school wrestler here at Carrington, North Dakota. And he has followed that on and now is wrestling at Northern State in Aberdeen. So most of my time these days has been spent following college wrestling, but I do follow a lot of high school wrestling. And this year I'm really excited to be able to do this with you, John, and because I think it'll give me just a little more focus on following all of the high school wrestling that I can. So it's going to be a fun year.
Well, I look forward, Bill. We're going to have some great conversations as the year goes. I know that. Now, anybody else out there, as I see we got 6 people watching right now live, but I'm hoping to build this up, to get 50 to 100 people a night watching. And we're going to try to go Sundays, as many as we can. And I'm going to throw in some Wednesdays, and I'm hoping Bill can get in on those nights too. I do have some coaches lined up. I've talked to several of them, both North and South Dakota. And if you haven't been asked yet, feel free to get a hold of me. I did send out my questionnaires, and I have several of them that said they would do it. And they kind of told me what night of the week works best. Okay, so tonight, besides talking college wrestling, I want to show a few things out there that is available on Dakota Grappler. So I'm going to pop over to the website. We got a couple new features as you watch this where you can do a little screen sharing. And we're going to try to cut these shows down. I didn't mention that. In the past, we've done about an hour. I'd like to keep these between a half hour and an hour. If we only go a half hour, I apologize if you want a full hour, but we're going to try to keep it down a little bit shorter so that people can watch these and then be excited to see the next one and just get as much content out there, results and rankings. That's one of the big things. I do have a couple of people in South Dakota that do the rankings there. Indie Wrestler, he's a good friend of mine. He has a great website. I want to promote him too. Go out. Anybody that supports the sport of wrestling, that's what I've been about. Some people ask me if it's ever a competition. I said, no. I said, just get wrestling the publicity and the wrestlers the publicity they deserve. That's what it's all about. So if you have a tournament, I've done Dakota Grappler pretty much for free forever. If you have a tournament you want to get publicity for your wrestlers, let's say Little Kid Wrestling Tournament, I know they're getting earlier and earlier. Remember when it used to be in the spring, Bill?
Yeah.
Now
they're all year long.
Yep. But feel free to email me it. I do have a great calendar now on the website that can have both North and South Dakota schedules and the duels. Track wrestling does a heck of a job, so you can get more results and records. But I'm going to do a little screen share and show you guys something, and then we're going to talk more wrestling. So right here, this is part of the Dakota Grappler preview magazine. You can see here, and that right there on the page is you see the returning state placers. So with the Dakota Grappler itself, within the book, you're going to see lots of stuff. Mostly team information. The coaches, I send them a questionnaire, and I would say 90% of them get their stuff back to me and are happy. A few coaches either miss the email or are so busy with football. I give them credit for that because I know they're helping out most of the teachers, and some are even farmers or whatever, and probably don't even have access to the internet. But I get as much information as possible. Right here, we're going to look at these rankings, or not rankings. These are the returning state placers. I'm going to have rankings probably by our next broadcast next Sunday. And then there's the Class A. We do have South Dakota and North Dakota and all that good stuff. Okay, let's take a look here. Let's look at Class A, and I'm going to make this a little bit bigger so that we can make it quick and we can talk about a few weight classes. Okay, now I'm going to ask you a tough question right away, Bill. Carrington is looking pretty good with the number of returning points, and I know you're a big Carrington follower. Can they place in the top 3?
I think it'll be tough for them too. I believe they probably can, but we're going to have on the individual side, we've got some really good individuals coming back, but they are going to be short on numbers, which is an odd thing for me to say out of the Carrington program. But they are also bunched up on weight. Some of those lower weights, we never really, for some reason, there's a bunch of kids here that are pretty good kids, but never ever have grown apart, and they're going to be. It'll be interesting to see how Coach Kerba kind of sets this team up. I think I think they'll be on the outside looking in the top 3. They could make it to the top 3, and I hope they do. Well,
I started to do returning points, and they're right on the border. And I said, with a great season, and Carrington's got a great history. I definitely know that, and they could pull something out. But if guy starts grouping up weights, you can't control that so much. I know that it's happened in several teams where guys that are good enough to be state placers are sitting at home, and that's kind of sad.
Yeah, okay. And in some cases they may make it into the lineup because we don't have all the numbers that you have, but they're just not at the optimum weight, so that it handicaps them a little bit. That's very true. No, I'm impressed with how Lisbon's done. Their numbers have been phenomenal over the last 3 years. I see them as the top team coming into the season. I see New Salem will still be tough, even though they lost Hughes to Bismarck High. I see, you know what? After that, it gets kind of interesting because there's a bunch of teams with about a half a dozen good wrestlers, and that is going to be interesting. This Greenlee is phenomenal. He's a stud. Surprising enough, they call him Jake the Snake from Central Cass. He wrestled with a long time. I know a lot of these guys. So my son has wrestled several of them. This Bombeck in fact, pretty much everybody in this whole crew somewhere along the way, my son has wrestled, but is now weighing 152. But you start looking, you see a Lisbon 1, and you start looking down here, and you start seeing other Lisbon 3 at the top of the weight class, and you start seeing another Lisbon 1. All of a sudden, there's 3 returning state champions, and you keep going. It's going to be interesting. And then another 4, which is the top of that weight class, which was returning. Oh, it's going to be interesting. It depends how people grew, because I tell you what, you could have some guys that are really tough that match up. For an example, if Clay Gerhardt just goes to 26 and Nielsen grew, or you look at Greenlee grew, you just never know. Right. Yeah. And I see that, Matthew Duksha there, it was 5th place at 106. And he really has put on some size, and I think he'll probably be at 120, but he's a pretty good kid too. Oh, yeah. I really, really like Matthew, and I've kind of been around him since he was really little, just starting in the program. So, but I do think it's going to be it's Lisbon's tournament to win. I mean, they're pretty dang tough, and I saw this coming quite a few years ago in the youth program. When you just could see the numbers. We went to a lot of these youth dual tournaments, and they put some, a tournament on there in Lisbon, a youth dual tournament, and had 2 or 3 teams themselves, and it was really, you could see this coming. So,
well, maybe you can explain this to me. I saw something, in fact, pop across my Dakota Grappler. Carrington is putting on kind of a unique tournament, some different state tournament. You know what that is? It's just a Class B
JV state tournament. So it'll be right after, if I remember, if I look at the date right, I think it's right after the East-West tournament. So, the state, the lineups are pretty well set for what the teams are going to be taking to the state tournament and the individual side. And there's going to be there's always some of those kids, and on the Class B side, a lot of them may be our junior high kids, but that are not going to be in the lineup, and their season ends prior to kind of just before East-West usually. And so they are doing a tournament, and it's a Friday night, if I believe, and going to have kids all over the state come to Central City and step their foot on the line. I
think that's a great idea. Whoever decided to do that, again, it's given those guys a place to shine. Those guys that couldn't quite make the varsity. It's a great idea.
It looks to me like that was Dennis Freeman's idea, and he's kind of always been the case where he just wants to be able to give kids more opportunities to wrestle, and he's been kind of all about that for quite a few years. So that doesn't surprise me.
Awesome. Okay, now let's talk a little bit of college. Now you've got to see some of the guys wrestle. Tell me, you made it to Concordia and everything this last weekend?
I did. I spent the day at Concordia on Saturday, and it's that time of the year, right? I mean, this is the third weekend of open tournaments. 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, the first weekend I spent the day in a gym in Jamestown for the Jimmy Open and saw some good wrestling there. And then last weekend there was the Bison Open, and then a lot of the teams went to from around South Dakota and other parts of the Midwest were in Mitchell for the Dakota Wesley Open, which is always a really, really good tournament. And then this weekend it kind of came to a head in Concordia for the Cobber Open. I guess they call it the Finn Griniker Open. But I saw Mary had a full lineup, and they looked pretty tough. One wrestler I guess I kind of call out as Jeremy Lights was won the tournament at 125 pounds for Mary, being a North Dakota kid, Beulah Hazen kid.
Yep.
Watched him wrestle. It seems like about 1,000 matches over the years. He really is looking good. I noticed it at the Jamestown tournament too, and really impressed me the other night when I watched him. And I guess I watched him wrestle. They had a duel. Mary had a duel against Concordia last week, and he was their starter and looked tough there. So I was really happy with to see Jeremy doing well. Throughout the rest of, he did win it. Yep. Rest of the Minot kid in the finals, and it's fun to watch these kids. And I was you're seeing kids from Bismarck High and Bismarck St. Mary's and Minot kids and Des Lacs Burlington kids and Carrington kids and I hate them, obviously Bismarck Century and these kids all over from all that you've been watching. And I was kind of thinking back to there was a whole bunch of these kids that went on a middle school or elementary dual trip tournament back kind of, I think, the first year that North Dakota sent a team or two teams. And there was a bunch of these kids who were on those teams, and you're watching them out wrestling college, and Lakin Bays was one. I mean, I think Lakin took fifth yesterday, but which was good. He wrestled great, and it's just fun to be able to keep watching these guys keep going on. So that was Mary. Minot was there. They had a couple. I think they had two champions, if I remember right. But they had a pretty good showing. Northern State was there. Had two champs. I think at one time Northern had 7 guys in the semis, ended up with 5 in the finals. And the other 2 guys, which were Walker Carr from Carrington and Billy, took third. So
we're getting that opportunity, beyond high school. It's kind of interesting because as I grew up, the chances were, there were quite a few places to wrestle, but it just seems right now we have the best opportunity for some of the wrestlers in North Dakota to actually get on the mat after high school, so they can look beyond that, get a small scholarship, and get some of their college paid for.
Yeah, I that's what I was telling, sitting there with a number of people that, obviously I've been watching high school wrestling with all of these same people over the years. And I said, I may be wrong, and I'm just seeing it different, but it seems to me like we have more kids from North Dakota, high school kids from North Dakota wrestling right now than I've ever seen. And this was all, everybody that was in this tournament were all wrestling at the D2 level, or there was a few kids from Northland Tech up in Thief River Falls. There's a few North Dakota kids that have ended up over there. And of course we do have our top level guys that have, gone on to wrestle in Division One. There's a few at NDSU, Jared Franick, Jesse Shears on the team. I know Ryan Ripplinger was wrestling today at the Daktronics Open in South Dakota. And Kyle Berwick over in Wisconsin. So.
Yep, Brandon Metz. I tell you what,
Brandon too. Yep,
they wrestled well in the Fargo Open too, or the Bison Open. Franick, somebody showed a picture on Twitter the other day where he was flexing. I'm going, oh my, he
looks like a 174 pounder,
and he's a 49 pounder.
Yeah, 57, but yeah,
okay, 57. I thought it said 149. I'm going, oh my, I was going, how did he get down to that? But he's just got huge shoulders on him, and I'm going.
Yeah.
And he beat a really tough kid from Minnesota in the finals, a 3-2 victory. They're expecting some good things out of him, and to see, some West Fargo boys on the team. That's a good thing to have D1 wrestlers. I mean, since NDSU has gone D1, we've been limited, North Dakota, showing up on the team. It hasn't been that many, so having a few getting an opportunity. And then they showed Berwick. I watched a video on Berwick, just a takedown machine this weekend, and beat the junior college national champion, just dominated them. So, wrestling is going, and I get so excited as this goes. So I don't know, you're probably the same way, just pumped up to see that it's going.
I do. I know you've been talking about Franick. NDSU wrestled Purdue today. They did drop the duel. Don't remember. I think the final was I do not remember what the final was, but it was a pretty good duel. The Jared Franick was really the match that I was looking forward to seeing. He did wrestle the number 7 kid in the country and lost in overtime. 8-6 overtime match, kind of a scrambly kind of a deal, but really, I mean, Jared he's the real deal. We knew that going in, but the rest of the country is going to find it out, I think, in the next few months. So.
Well, I tell you what, you're pretty lucky. You got these. I still got a boy that's wrestling in high school, and my chances of getting around is a few years away yet to get all these things. Yeah. And you travel a little bit. That's pretty awesome. I think I'll follow your shoes and get to some of these tournaments in a couple of years. It'd be awesome.
Yeah, there's a lot of it's really fun to to be able to go on and follow these and I get excited about watching the the North Dakota kids. And I know Mary's got a full team and a really good team, and Minot's building a program there too. But I get excited on their teams when I'm watching their North Dakota kids wrestle.
Mm-hmm. Do you get down to the northern duels and stuff?
I do. I make it to pretty much every duel. I
your northern hat on.
I do. Yeah, I do have a northern hat on. Actually, Northern does have a duel again this week. They duel Concordia on Wednesday. Wednesday at Concordia. So they have had one duel so far. They dueled St. John's out of Minnesota and had a pretty convincing win there. And then they'll have their second duel this week.
That's another program that's just done a phenomenal job. After the last half dozen years, when they wanted to drop the program, even that I'm really impressed. They're getting the right coaches in the right spots and promoting the sport.
They've done a good job. Rocky Burkett's the head coach there, and he's actually on his third assistant coach this year now since he took over the program. But his attitude has been great. He's really got involved in the community. I would say that
I would tell everybody, I know the golf tournament's full, but I get down there and he hosts a nice little golf tournament.
Absolutely.
And we have not won it yet. Rich Vogelai, you got to step it up and do a little more golfing.
Yeah, it's coming. Next year it's coming.
Yep. Well, you've been down there in the past. I saw you a couple years ago.
Yep.
And then the last couple. We took second this last year. I don't know. I did not have to wear a singlet. There is a picture out there with me, a singlet. And that wasn't so one of my bright moments in my life, I would say, but teeing off in a northern singlet.
Yeah. Well, you can bring your own singlet. You could have a Century singlet or something. It'd be all right.
I did really well in one of those.
Yeah, it's kind of fun to watch this Northern program change and grow. There's a group of kids out there right now, and there's a group of North Dakota kids and South Dakota kids for that matter. But the kind of that first class that Rocky signed did include 3 Carrington, North Dakota kids. I mean, it was Billy, Walker Carr, and Riley Lura all made the decision to go down there at that time, and I thought it was a pretty neat decision. They knew they were trying to build something. At the same time, Paxton Muse came out of Jamestown, and Paxton has since left the team. He just had a really tremendous amount of injuries, and so it kind of miss having Paxton around. But Adam DeBoer is there from Bismarck High, and really loving the play. He looked pretty good yesterday. So there's been, and then on the South Dakota side, they keep getting kids from Rapid City and around the state. So there's a pretty good number of North Dakota and South Dakota starters on that lineup. So it really fits into our Dakota Grappler theme. Yep.
So what does your boy have left for eligibility?
He's a redshirt junior, so he's going to wrestle this year, and he's wrestling 165 pounds, and he actually is going to graduate in the beginning of in December. But he is going to start his graduate work right away and keep wrestling. So he'll wrestle his full 5 years, hopefully. That's the plan. And they do Riley and Walker are going to end up graduating this spring. And as of right now, I think they're planning on this is going to be their final year. So, Billy's got 2 more this year. Next year, he's been a 2-year starter so far, and has not made it to the national tournament yet. It's a tough,
super region's tough though.
It's a super tough region, and not only is it tough now, it's starting. It was really tough before when you had to make it the top 4 made into the national tournament. Last year they changed it. Now it's the top 3.
Right.
So yeah, it's brutal. And you got St. Cloud in the region, and they are I think they've won 3 out of the last 4 national championships, and every weight class is pretty stacked. So it's a great tournament to watch. You do see a lot of upsets. You see guys that were national qualifiers or placers the year before, losing in the second round, and it's pretty well. Just a kind of an example of how tough that region is. There's St. Cloud was at the Cobber tournament yesterday, and Northern's 133-pounder Dane Morton. He was a starting 125-pounder last year for us and did not make it out of the region. He had a pretty good season last year, and he's really worked hard in the off season, and he's up to 133 right now. And he wrestled a St. Cloud kid in the finals of the Cobber tournament yesterday, and that kid did qualify for the national tournament last year. And Dane did beat him in the final, so that was one of Northern's champs. So it was an exciting day. So, but it's a long season.
Oh yeah, college wrestling season's not short by any means. They'll go through semester tests and still keep going.
Yep.
All the way until March, so it gets to be a little long. I do remember those years.
It goes by fast for us as fans, but as the athletes, it's their bodies wore out by the end of the year. So.
Well, another thing people got to look forward to is this spring, the national D1s, they are in Minneapolis. So,
yes.
Gosh, I've got an opportunity. If I want, I can get some tickets, but I tell you what, if anybody's a fan, you are so close here in North and South Dakota. If you haven't had a chance to get to a D1 wrestling tournament, find some tickets. It is a great experience. I wouldn't trade it for almost anything as a wrestling fan.
Well, I think the tickets are going to be available. It is going to be at the Viking Stadium at the U.S. Bank Stadium. So there's going to be a lot of seats, but we do plan on going. We've got tickets. We're all lined up, ready to go. I will say to throw this plug out there for people to make the plans, but the D2 tournament is in Sioux Falls.
That's correct. Yep.
So that's if you're going to D1s,
you might as
well go to D2s too the week before. But it is.
It is the week before. I was going to ask that.
It's the week before, I'm pretty sure. Well, it might be. I think it's the week before. Yeah. It could be. I'm pretty sure it is the week before.
Well, I tell you what, as this season goes, I'm going to depend on you for a lot of college stuff. I get so busy with high school. I've concentrated on that for so many years. And I how can I even say this? Uh, my hours on the internet are well expanded during the year,
Yeah.
but I don't watch as much college as I used to, and it's sad. I kind of just stayed mostly on D1 and then followed some North Dakota kids. So the Dickinsons, the Jamestowns, the Northerns, I've missed a lot of those wrestlers, even though I know of them. As I see the results, I'm going, oh yeah, him, he's from there, he's from there. But as being a true fan of wrestling, I'm almost embarrassed to say I've missed it actually the last few years, not covering college as much.
It's hard to get to it all, and I know that I saw a lot less Class B wrestling the last few years. I will say I did have an opportunity the last 2 years to. I was traveling a bit for work, and I was throughout North and South Dakota, and I did hit maybe a half dozen South Dakota duels during the year, and probably saw as many South Dakota wrestling tournament matches duels as I did North Dakota. But it's tough to get to it all. But I think this is a chance for people to kind of see what's out there, and we can give them a chance to maybe focus, and they can see that what Dickinson's doing and what Jamestown's doing and what the Jamestown women are doing. They just had a great tournament over the last weekend, and so that'll put a little bit of heat on us to be able to follow that stuff as well as we can. So
okay, well,
I feel free to reach out to me and let me know. Hey, the Jamestown women are going here, or Dickinson is dueling this team, and because if I would love to be able to make sure I focus on it. So.
Okay, well, we'll make sure to do that too, because I tell you what, there's a lot out there, and we're starting up with fest. In fact, this week we'll have our first high school duels coming up. I know Thursday is the first opportunity, and I know Dickinson, or I'd almost have to look at my schedule again, but show you on the Grappler how to do that. In fact, maybe at the end of this, I'll show everybody where they can start seeing their calendar, can show the screen wise, but kind of get a view of, if you want to see some wrestling matches, who's going and where they're at different nights. Man, I'm so excited this thing goes. My schedule year goes, over the Christmas break, it's a great time to see a lot of the coaches out at the Rumble the Red, and those that I haven't seen during the year. I used to always go down to Rapid City because as coaching for Mandan, we'd have that opening weekend where we'd be in the Mandan tournament, and then I would take the JV team to, let's say, Napoleon or Jamestown, and I'd see a few coaches there, and then down to Rapid City and make sure the coaches of South Dakota are served. And then over Christmas, usually Webster has a tournament. McCook has at a tournament, Sioux Falls. So I'd find a weekend where there's nothing happening in North Dakota and get down there. And as having a freshman now in high school, I'll have to apologize. I won't hit the South Dakota tournaments as much because he's got a small chance at wrestling a little bit of varsity. He'll go in and out. He's kind of got a little bit bigger. But other than that, then I'll get down. Now, the South Dakota State Wrestling Tournament is the week after the North Dakota State Wrestling Tournament. So I make it a tradition of hitting one of the two when they're in different locations, if not both. It used to be that one was in, let's say, Sioux Falls and then Rapid City. And I would go Friday to, let's say, Rapid, and then make a way across the state and hit the other one either in Aberdeen or in Sioux Falls, depending upon where they were at, so that I'd try to head back toward home, which when it's in Sioux Falls and Rapid, it doesn't work so well. I'm travel through the whole night and then get there, make sure I'm there for Saturday morning. But because Saturday morning, 10 o'clock in South Dakota, traditional semifinals.
Okay.
For them, for North Dakota, Friday night is it's like you might as well get your energy drink because you've got the semis and the dual final that night.
Yeah, that's my favorite. It's become my favorite time of the tournament for sure.
Friday night is probably one of my favorite. Beck has done such a great job. I broadcasted them. And now that they got the state tournament back last year, it was about a 5 year or so hiatus of where they had somebody else taking over the North Dakota state tournament. And they do such a great job. And I usually broadcast the Class A because that's what I watch all the time. In fact, but I'm peeking over my shoulder or over the other mat to see the Class B stuff because I don't want to miss the tournament. I make sure it's tape recorded so I can check out the whole matches later. And, it's on television. Beck has done a great job with that. I just want to give them a shout out. They're a great supporter of Dakota Grappler and wrestling and sports in the state.
Absolutely.
Now, in South Dakota this year, though, they do have something new. They're going to a 3-day tournament. They have only done 2 in the last because they're adding the dual back.
Right.
And so, and they've got different criteria. They're doing kind of a PowerPoint system, and they're going to go by regions. And some people are going to avoid some of the tough competition because, and I've noticed it. Pierce got kind of a duel in the middle of the year. Talk about that. Spent some time with their coach this summer, and it's sad, but they have one of those kind of like the East-West duels, they call it, and they'll bring the best teams to the East and West and try to face each other. And they almost called it like the state tournament because they never had one. And so now that there's a point system, if you bring, let's say, a Watertown in to Pierre, and then they face Rapid City Central, Rapid City Stevens, Sturgis, and those teams, and they take a couple losses, that could affect their power points or whatever in their own region, even though it wasn't that, and then maybe cost them a chance to go into the state dual tournament. So they've got to figure all that out. And I don't know their whole system on how they plan on doing it. And I'm going to get somebody on. I've got, like I said, a couple South Dakota coaches who can explain a little better. But I still think that they are doing everything that Saturday morning, still their tradition. So they're going to probably, I think they'll probably finish up the duels Friday night.
Okay, yeah.
And I'll double check on that over the next broadcast. Some guys can fill me in. But I believe they're doing that, and they're still going to have the semis then that Saturday morning. Now, for us, I've seen it back-to-back Friday night where you're in the semi-individual, and then you go to the dual finals, and you're facing the same guy again who you just beat. And I've seen it go both ways.
I've seen it go, yep.
Where you win and you make the state finals, the guy gets so high and excited, he loses the match to him the next match in the duel. And I've seen it, and it's crazy. It's the people that are in both the duel and the individual at the state wrestling tournament, it's got to be grueling. Or else, you have to prepare your team, and there's some coaches that know how to do it. If it's the first time in the state duel, it could be tough. I think the coaches that have been there and have experienced it know what to do.
Yeah, I think for fans it's awesome, and I've always said that, and I know that our wrestlers at times have kind of complained a little bit that it was so grueling, but I have seen that happen, and I've been a part of some of those teams where we were had semifinal losses or semifinal wins, and then had to turn around and wrestle the guy that we just lost to, or maybe it was someone that we lost to in the quarterfinals,
right?
Then you end up they lose in the semis, and now they're down, and now you got to wrestle this guy, and it's been some really interesting matchups over the years. So
it's not usually the conditioning because these guys are used to wrestling 5 matches on a day, but it's just getting up and down the emotions of the whole thing. You want to be a good teammate and do well in every spot, but I tell you what, the ups and downs there is bigger than anything than the conditioning itself, I think.
Oh, absolutely. Yep. Yeah. It's all the excitement and the nerves and how to, and there's just something that's different about duels. I think that the teams that we've seen over the years that have won those dual tournaments or lost them, there's something a little bit different about those guys when they're wrestling a dual tournament than the individual matches. I love the dual tournament. I wish we'd see more dual tournaments throughout the year. I just love dual meets. I think they're tougher and tougher on the Class B side with the amount of wrestlers that we're losing. Or that we don't have, but the opportunities that duels present are really interesting sometimes.
Right. I've suggested this for years, and it's kind of like beating a dead horse, but I've always said that you should have less weight classes, and especially Class B. Imagine if you had 10 weight classes or 11 to fill, and could duel it out that way. You'd be surprised.
Oh yeah, it'd be
would be such a barn burner.
That's a discussion to have for someday. I think we need to do that. In some states, we're starting to see a little bit some possible changes there. I think Pennsylvania's making a change this year.
That's correct.
And possibly that something we may see in the future.
Oh, definitely. Well, cool. You know what? We are at that half-hour mark. Got a couple of things, like I said. Anything you want to talk about before I just show a little bit of stuff happening on the website?
I guess the only the only thing I'd say is we got whatever we have coming up this week. Try to get out and support some of these wrestlers. Like I said, the Northern State wrestles at Concordia and Moorhead on Wednesday. I should have looked because I did not beforehand, but I think that this seems like it's usually a week that Mary and Minot duel. Is that a possibility this week?
That could be. In fact, I got to add. That's one thing I haven't put on the calendar yet. I'm going to have to go to the colleges and add that to the calendar.
I'll take one this week.
and
and then the first tournament of the year is this week too, right? The first high school tournament, the Minot tournament will be this weekend. So another chance to go out and take in some wrestling. So those are the things that I have. And then I'll kind of just wait to see what else you have to show us.
Okay, well, that sounds good. No, I'm excited. I tell you what, as we start seeing these guys compete and see where people have grown, you can never understand a teenager's body and how it changes. Some people go from, being a 32 pounder to a 70 pounder the next year, or they'll be at 32 again. It's unexplainable sometimes. But let's go back, and I want to show you something here. To go back to this, and I'm going to stop my view here just for a second. I'm going to share a different screen. And when I do this, it gives me an opportunity to show you. Let's go to a Chrome tab and go here. And so this is the Dakota Grappler. If you guys have not seen it, I get it up on the screen here. Dakota Grappler. I have this, a brand new website. I worked a lot on it over this year, and you can go, and this is the typical place where you can go in and check out the message board. This is where it's been for years. So if I click on this, pretty simple, it will take us over to where you have the message board. Just for everybody that has not been there in a while, that's how you get there. It's that simple. If you want to contribute, get some information out there, then you all have to do is click on the form here, and it'll get you into the different sites. Now, everywhere from the North Dakota General Board to college to South Dakota. Montana's been pretty dead, but I tell you what, I had it in there for when I had a good buddy from Sydney, Montana in there for a long time, and they wanted to see stuff. Girls Board. And then the places that have been the most busy actually is both the North Dakota Kids Board and the South Dakota. And South Dakota is phenomenal. If there's people out there, South Dakota's done a great job, and they are wild. I tell you what, on the message board, and it'll be pretty funny. One of the craziest, in fact, there are 26 people on there looking at it right now, and this number gets in the hundreds. In fact, if you look, total members, 7,882, which has been over the years. Posts 192,000. So there's a lot of people that have seen the Dakota Grappler there. Okay, so let's go back. I will show you from here. Go back to the main website, and I'll show you what's happening. Now, on the website itself, real quick, besides the message board, as it goes, when I make posts, in fact, this was where we had our Dakota Grappler Live. I make a post, and it goes into different areas. It's just basically along this screen. Let me go like this and make this a little bit bigger so that it's not that way. And it just basically update what's happening, in college, you name it. I thought this was really cool. I could play this. This is just a little video of University of Mary. I thought that was one of the greatest things. He serenaded girls, come to the duel tonight, type of thing. And I thought that was pretty cool. I try to put up some college stuff, like I said, when they interview them. And then, of course, my buddy Terry Steiner, when he talks about the women's, Olympics and national teams that he works with, he's phenomenal. I mean, he's a motivator. He's probably one of the best coaches I've ever been around, really. And they've worked their butt off to be where they're at. Proud to have been a teammate and a friend of Terry and Troy Steiner. But so you'll see all that on the main page. Now, in here, the events, go across the top. In the events area here, you'll have a master calendar. So if I click on the master calendar, we'll go into here. It'll take a half a second to go to that next page, and it will have what's coming up for events. So I'll go into here. And so I had our event from listed of us going live, and I'll probably put those up from when we're going live. I'll have to check if you're available Wednesday again, because I wouldn't mind doing a small show, another half-hour show on Wednesday, just to talk about what's happening. We'll see if you are. We'll talk off afterwards. But then also tomorrow is the first opportunity for South Dakota Wrestling practices. And then it goes through and it just has the calendar as it goes if you go that way. But you can change something at the top. In this far corner where it says agenda, you can actually click on that. And you can make it as the day or the month or the week. So if I click on the month, it'll come up to like a normal calendar you see. And then it can go into here's the first practices. North Dakota started last week. Here's the Dakota Grappler Live, and you can just scroll across them, and it starts showing stuff. Now, over here, it shows, here's the Minot Invitational come Saturday, and I've got the teams listed on there. So Bishop Ryan has been there, Delax Burlington, Devils Lake, Kenmare, Killdeer, Minot, Velva, Williams County, Williston, and there's a duel, Williston at Turtle Mountain. And then there's also a duel here, Mayville, Portland, and Williston at Turtle Mountain. That's Friday night. And I believe I didn't get Devil's Lake in because that's probably because a few coaches, their schedules when I started putting this up there weren't on the High School Activities Association page. So I didn't get them all in there. But most of the time you'll see like the North Dakota duels. And then I'll go here and you'll just say the duels. You'll see Fargo North at Fargo South, Grand Forks and so forth on Saturday. And so you could basically go through the basic schedule. And then the following Tuesday, it starts getting crazy, where you can see the huge list there of all the teams that start dueling. And I believe there's a couple that go Thursday here, but I don't know why I don't have them on the list. But then after that, there's another thing you can do. Besides that, that's the month of November. You can actually click over here and go categories. Now, these are the categories I've listed. I've got the Dakota Grappler when we go live. It's kind of in the purple color. North Dakota High School Wrestling, South Dakota High School Wrestling, and then South Dakota Youth. And I will have North Dakota Youth on there. What's funny is I have not got to that yet. I've been busy. And so when I start posting, they'll just come up here because I've already got a category for it. I just haven't posted any of their stuff. And so anything that has a color there, you basically can click on. And if you just want to follow North Dakota, you can click on North Dakota, and the North Dakota schedules will be up. Or if you want to see the South Dakota wrestling stuff, that will come up. And it'll also have the North Dakota, but you can basically follow any category you want. As I do that, I've got them both highlighted. You got to unhighlight them if you don't want to see, let's say, North Dakota. Here's just South Dakota person. If you want to see the North Dakota, there we go. And so let's click on to down here the next month from November. All I have to do is go over. From November, we go into December. And then it'll take a second, of course, because as we're going live, I think it slows things down a little bit. Let's go to December here. Maybe I didn't click on it. And here's where South Dakota gets crazy. As you can see, now if it has a blue one on here, you've clicked out of the North Dakota, that means that some South Dakota teams are in these North Dakota teams. Like, for an example, the Lions still there in the South Dakota schedule because you have, crazy enough, Pier is coming this year. And that's it. The Mandan tournament, if you're in the Bismarck area, it is going to be a barn burner come Saturday mid-afternoon for their finals, because you will have Rapid City team, you'll have Sturgis, you'll have Bismarck Century, you'll have, you start looking at all those. Hettinger's been there. You'll have, Sturgis. And, I could go on forever. Bismarck High and Bismarck Century. And those are probably the two top teams returning points, Bismarck High and, I didn't even talk any Class A tonight. I could do that for quite a while. But like I said, I'm going to try to keep this short, and we can talk a lot on Wednesday, just kind of update things. And we'll have another coach pop in with us. But that is a great place to go. I'll go to a couple of us. You can go back up to the top, and here you can click on just colleges, college news. And as we go to college news, the things that I post will go both under there. And that's pretty easy. I'll actually have to show you if you want to post something. Bill, I'll get you signed up on so you can post things right in here too as it goes. High school, go to the high school news. And usually when I do stuff for high school, that'll also go in here is the Dakota Grappler Live. I've got my books and so forth, 1,000 subscriber goal stuff, youth wrestling, club, and it's only going to get bigger. Now, you had a different website in the past that was pretty good, but I think I found what I want to use right now, and it's very useful. In fact, got all the, if you wanted to continue, you could go through and look at all the clubs. I think this has the links to different clubs in North Dakota right there, and I can put some more on. Excuse me. And then media, I'm still working on that. I can get a YouTube archive going. Store now, I have to apologize. I had a couple people call me, and for some reason, the pre-orders for the books, people have tried to do that, has not worked on the cart. So I'm going to have to put a different link. If you go into the store, I started to put things in the store. I've got T-shirts. I've got lots of things that if people want some wrestling stuff, I've never been in the merchandise thing, Bill, but I tell you what, at times I've had a hard time finding a wrestling T-shirt. And so I've actually gone on, there's a place called Merch for Amazon, and I've developed some wrestling shirts, and it's done very well. But what I've put on here is I do have both digital copies and hard copy, a few left from last year. In fact, my numbers are probably down 50 books, probably total left. I usually get really close to run out, and I usually keep myself about 3-4 just for my own bookshelf. I did have 1 year. In fact, I think I've got one book, and it's not in great shape. It was like my sales copy because I stupidly ran out and sold them all. But someone said, "Can I get a copy of that yet?" Like, it's probably the 19 or the 2002 or one of those books, going back to 99. Then you can pre-order hard copy, but I'm going to have to look into that. The book for this year is just going through the printing process now. I should have it hopefully the end of this next week. I know it went to print, and they had run all the sheets, and Tuesday should be the final printing day, and then they go and get it what's called perfect bound. And there's a turnaround for it. And I'm hoping that it's probably beginning of next week for sure, like a week from Monday. I'm hoping to have it back the week of Thanksgiving week. I wouldn't have minded having it before and go up to Minot next weekend. That's kind of my plan, is to go up to Minot and see some wrestling. And then other than that, if you want to just reach out to us, you can always contact me at any time, John Gums at Dakota Grappler. That's simple. Well, I appreciate you guys. I think I tell you what, there's so many good things to do. We are just figuring this whole thing out yet, trying to get back to just you and I. There we are. There we are. Bill, I tell you what, we're going to have some great talks. We're going to get a lot of wrestling in this year. Still figuring out this new thing. It's through a place called StreamYard that can go both live on Facebook and on YouTube. Still, I see James Porter popped in, says Sunday. Awesome. James Porter, guess what? Sundays work very good. I'm going to have most of the shows. I believe if Bill can do it Sunday, we'll do it all the way through the whole season on Sundays. And then I'm going to pop in some other times during the week when I can get coaches available. And my wife will hate me, but nothing new. Really.
Yeah, no, Sundays are great. Sunday evenings, and there's I think this will work out good. And then there'll be one other night during the week, and I think we talked about Wednesdays. I think will be a good one this week. Wednesday will be interesting because we do have that duel at Concordia with Northern State, but we'll figure something out. And
something else, what I'll do is I'll call you and I'll just get an update.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah.
And I'll get a coach on and we'll just visit. I know you'll be busy. I've got several people. In fact, I've got a South Dakota coach that is ready to go on as much as possible too. And then I've got 2 other people that applied. I actually put an application process out there, and I had some people apply it, but I don't know them. One is from Rapid City, and he's young and he's really excited and would really love to do it. And so I'm hoping to get him on a few times just to see what happens. And I kind of got to protect myself. I'm not quite sure who they are yet, but yeah. I know they're big wrestling fans. I know that there's some coaches out there that have given me names that they would like to see them on here. One is from Redfield. We both know who probably that is.
Yeah.
You probably golfed with him. I don't know if you have or not.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Yep. And so we'll visit there. No, just excited to get it going, Bill. I'm so happy you could be with me. Other than that, just basically my last word is go out and support your wrestling team, guys.
Yeah. Go out there and take every chance you can. These kids, we don't only get to watch them for so long, and you never know when the last time will be. So you got to go out and enjoy the wrestling. There's a lot of great wrestling across the state of North Dakota and South Dakota. There's several college programs that are working hard every day trying to go out there and chase their dreams, and they're fun to watch. They're fun to watch. Whether we have programs here in these 2 states of NAIA, Division II and Division I. So lots of good wrestling.
No, great. Well, then again, guys, I'm going to check out. But thanks again for watching Dakota Grappler Live. We basically had a coaches show, but this is our kickoff show. Everybody else, come back and watch us again. Support your wrestling, and God bless wrestling, guys.
Yep, we'll see you next time.
Bet you have a great night.